Ashley was sunbathing on the beach and decided to swim in the sea. When she came back to her deck chair, she noticed that her stuff had been stolen. Ashley called security and they found 3 suspects. Each of the suspects pleaded innocent. Who's guilty? Remember the footprints on the sand? Ashley was barefoot, so one set of footprints is hers. Among the suspects, only one guy is wearing flip-flops. He must be guilty. We're given these things at least 2 times in our lifetime. The first 2 times are always for free, but if you want to get it for the 3rd time, you'll have to pay for that. What is it? These are teeth. Now, this one is to test your eyes and logic at the same time. Can you tell me the number of the parking spaces where the car is parked? It's the question of the point of view here, so instead of reading it from left to right, change the angle and you'll see the numbers 86, 88, 89, and 90. Therefore, the number of parking spaces is 87. Kelly stands on one side of a river and her cat somehow ended up on the other. Kelly calls her cat, but you know, these guys aren't into water and swimming in general. However, the cat immediately crossed the river without getting wet, and there were no boats or bridges. How? The river was frozen, so the cat just walked on the ice. Ed went to a bizarre museum. Rumor has it that some of the paintings are hiding real people and even monsters behind the frames. Look at this exposition and find what painting Ed should stay away from. That's the painting of Frankenstein. He's real, as he's the only one who sticks his hands out of the picture. The rest of the monsters are just paintings. In 1890, Jeremiah was 15 years old. Strangely, in 1895, he was 10 years old. How is that possible? Thing is, Jeremiah was born in 1905 BCE. The calendar worked the other way around back then. Luke had a very strict math teacher. One day, when he wasn't on his best behavior, the teacher got angry and said he would send him to a detention room. Luke asked the teacher not to do this, and the teacher said he wouldn't if Luke managed to prove an equation. The equation was 8 plus 8 equals 4. Can you help Luke out? I gotta admit, the teacher cheated a tad bit. It's not about math, but about logic. 8 a.m. plus 8 hours equals 4 p.m. Luke, you'd better behave. Paul asked Mary out multiple times, but she kept refusing his invitations. One day, she said she'd agree to go out with Paul, but it should be at a place that's 3/7 chicken, 2/3 cat, and 2/3 goat. Where does Mary want to go? Seems like Mary's never been to Chicago. Emily told her husband, Jay, that she wanted to invite her friends to dinner at their house. Jay asked how many friends she was going to invite. Emily said that they're all brunette, but 2. They're all redheaded, but 2. And they're all blonde, but 2. So, how many friends does Emily want to invite? She could have simply said she wanted to invite 3 friends, but she loves riddles. Alright, this one went viral on the internet some time ago. If you've missed it, let's crack it right now. I met a man on the London Bridge. He tipped his hat and drew his name. In this riddle, I told you his name. What's his name? His name is Andrew. You just needed to combine the two words from one of the lines of the riddle. The savannah was on fire. 3 lions and 3 zebras fled to save their lives. To escape the fire, they need to cross a river swarming with crocodiles. There was a raft nearby that can carry 2 animals on top at a time, and it needs to be at least 1 lion or 1 zebra on board. Also, the lions can't outnumber the zebras on either side of the river, even for a moment. How can all of them safely cross the river? First, a lion and a zebra should cross the river. The lion stays on the other bank, and the zebra goes back. For the second crossing, the 2 lions take the raft, but only one of them stays on the other side. 1 lion returns. Next, 2 zebras cross the river. To send the raft back, there should be a lion and a zebra on it. Now, there's a lion and a zebra on the safe bank, and 2 zebras and 2 lions on the bank that's on fire. For the next crossing, 2 zebras take the raft. Now, all the zebras are safe and the lion can bring his friends one by one. Mr. Collins is a math professor. He wanted to make it simpler for his students, so he suggested an idea. Whoever can solve the problem he gives does not have to take the exam at the end of the semester. The problem was, how can the number 5 be half of 4? Can you solve it? Well, to solve the problem, you need to use Roman numerals and not Arabic as we typically do. In Roman numerals, IV stands for 4 and V stands for 5. Seems like 5 is indeed half of 4, according to this logic. This one is a bit tricky, so be alert. First, think of the color of the cloud. Then, think of the color of the snow. And finally, think of the color of a bright full moon. Now answer quickly, what do cows drink? Yeah, it's not much of a riddle, but rather a psychological trick. It's water, not milk. You see, you were fixated on the white color from the start, and the association with cows made you think of milk. If you answered water instead, congrats! Your brain can't be tricked easily. 3 different doctors said Michael is their brother, but Michael says he has no brother. Who is lying? Actually, no one's lying. The 3 doctors are Michael's sisters. Amy and Parker were walking in the woods when they saw an old hut. They walked inside, but the door they entered suddenly disappeared. Instead, 3 new doors appeared. Behind the first one, there were venomous spiders. Behind the second door, arrows were flying across at head height. At the third door, hit a 30-foot drop. Which door leads to freedom? They should choose the second door. They don't need to walk, they can simply crawl under the arrows. Jennifer had to go to the hospital the other day. Walking along the corridor, she spotted 3 doctors. One of them seemed suspicious to her. Why? Look at the doctor on the left. He's got wolf eyes and teeth, and there's no badge on his uniform. I wouldn't let a werewolf examine me. Patrick met a stranger yesterday, and he immediately knew who he was. He hadn't seen this person before, and no one had ever described him to Patrick. This person wasn't a celebrity, and he wasn't doing anything unusual. How come he knew who he was? The man was the twin brother of Patrick's friend. Today, I'm going to put your attentiveness to the test. Pay attention to every little detail, and you'll solve all the riddles in no time. Mark was walking along the river when he heard someone screaming. It was a young woman who was drowning. The guy immediately left his jacket and backpack on the ground and jumped into the water. Luckily, he was on time. When Mark pulled the woman out of the river, he saw a passerby standing next to his stuff.
Unfortunately, I can't swim, but I looked after your things,
the man said. Then why did you rummage in my backpack? Mark asked. How did he understand someone had opened his backpack? When he dropped the bag on the ground, the zipper was on the left side, but now it's on the right side. It was a scorching hot day when Thomas made a bet with his friends. At that time, they were chilling in the garden, drinking water and lemonade. Thomas told his friends that water produced by different companies tasted different too. You can blindfold me. I'll take a sip from 2 bottles of water, the one we have on the table and the one from a different producer. I saw it in the kitchen. I bet I'll be able to tell the difference. Then he did exactly that. His friends were ready to give Thomas the money he had won. But one of them cut in. You were cheating, he said. Why did he think so? It was an extremely hot day. No wonder the water had been outside for several hours, which was much warmer than the water brought from the kitchen. Someone robbed a bank in a large city. A police detective went to visit the main suspect, who had been detained several times before.
I've been feeling unwell this week, and I haven't left my apartment for 3 days. Luckily, I didn't need food. My fridge is full. You can make sure of it yourself,
the man said, and opened his fridge. But the detective realized the man was lying and arrested him. How did he figure it out? First of all, that loaf of bread on the table looks fresh. Plus, if the man had been staying inside for 3 days already, his fridge wouldn't be so full. Mr. Black sold beautiful, rare vases. There were dozens of them on the shelves of his store. One day, the man called the police. When they arrived, the owner had his head bandaged and his store was a mess. Some guys in masks ran into my store and grabbed the money and the most expensive vases. Then they hit me on the head and I blacked out. Police officers immediately understood that Mr. Black was lying to get the insurance money. How did they figure it out? Even though most of the vases are on the floor, they aren't even cracked. But if the vases had fallen down from the shelves during the robbery, they would have been shattered. Look at these 2 bloggers. As you see, they both seem to be very popular. They also have the same amount of likes, but there's something wrong with one of them. She must be hiding something. What is it? The girl on the right has a fake bag. The logo on it looks like that of Chanel, but it's written Gucci underneath. Marcel was driving along a dangerous mountain road. Suddenly, he saw a man sitting on the side of the road and stopped. It turned out the man hadn't managed to control his car. It fell off the road and the man got thrown out of the window. And now, his very expensive car was beyond repair.
Could you be my witness when I prepare the documents for my insurance company?
The man asked Marcel. The guy agreed, but asked the man to show him what was inside the car. The man took the key out of his pocket and unlocked the damaged vehicle. I won't take part in this fraud, Marcel said. Why did he think the man was lying? If the man had been thrown out of the car, the key would still be in the ignition. Dylan and Susan had been happily married for 10 years. One day, Dylan went on a business trip. When he returned, Susan immediately understood that the man wasn't her husband. How did she figure it out? Dylan always wore his wedding ring. If you were attentive, you must have noticed it on his finger. But the man who returned to Susan didn't have the wedding ring. The police found out that a smuggler was going to leave the country through the largest airport in the city. A detective arrived there and detained 3 people who looked suspicious. Look at them and try to figure out who the smuggler is. It's the 3rd passenger. His suitcase is full of totally random stuff. Women's shoes, some random socks, a pair of old dirty jeans, and even a wig. Plus, when closed, the suitcase looks much larger than when it's open. Sarah's husband, Michel, was a professional cyclist. He was about to have a challenging cycling tournament. "I promise I'll bring you the bouquet they give to the winner," Michel told Sarah. 4 hours later, he came back with beautiful flowers. But Sarah realized right away that Michelle hadn't won the tournament. How did she figure it out? Those flowers are actually from Sarah's garden. The same flowers are growing next to their house. Look at these people. The man is in the hospital. He's lost his memory. And these 2 women both claim to be his partner. One of them is obviously lying, but which one? The woman on the left is lying. If they were married, they would have wedding rings on their fingers. Now, there are these 3 people. One of them is lying. Who is it? Look at this woman claiming that she's pregnant. See that Adam's apple? It's a man. He can't be pregnant. Look at these people. Can you figure out who's a vampire? It's this man. See those fangs? Creepy. Which of these girls is the man's wife? It's the girl on the right. She's wearing a necklace saying Kate, and the man has a tattoo with the same name on his arm. A store security guard stopped a man who was leaving a clothing store. "The sales assistant claims you've stolen a pair of expensive gloves."
These are my gloves. I've had them for ages.
But the security guard immediately understood the man was lying. How? The man wouldn't be able to use these gloves. They're both for the same hand. Rachel reached the final of a game show. In the last round, she could win a gold bar, but only if she managed to get it. One of the bars was in a container with boiling hot water. The jar containing the second bar was filled with strong acid. And in the third jar, there were venomous scorpions. Which container should Rachel choose? The woman just needs to wait until the water in the first jar cools down and take the gold bar. Detective Adams came to a park to have lunch in the sun, but his attention was drawn by 3 men running around a fountain. Each of them was shouting, "Thief! Catch the thief!" The detective was confused. Who was the real thief? That's why he just kept watching. After some time, the distance between the men shortened. Detective Adams immediately realized who the real thief was. Can you figure it out too? If the third man was the thief, the second one would only have to turn around to catch him. The same goes for the second man, which means the man running the first is the criminal. If it rains at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it will be sunny? No way! In 72 hours, it's gonna be night again. Can you crack this rebus puzzle? That's right, it means accelerate. Hey there! Today we'll be solving cases and mysteries to maintain safety and order. Are you ready to help? Then let's go!
Yeah.
Here's the first task. A group of cyborgs from a different planet arrived on Earth to study humans' behavior. The police are now tracking them down to keep an eye on everything. So they need to identify all the cyborgs, and they need your help to find a couple of cyborgs in disguise. We're in a cafe, where a group of old-school friends met for a reunion. Who is not really human? This lady right here, the one who's eating with a fork and a nail, this cyborg hasn't quite figured out how life on Earth works yet. Great job, but we have more. What about these guys? Do you see anyone suspicious? This guy right here has purple eyes, so my money is on him. Here's a photo one resident made at a local beach. Take a close look. Which individual isn't a real human being? This one right here. Electrical sparks are coming from him. Okay, this is it with our state. The police in other states and countries will deal with their parts. Now some more private issues.
Yeah.
Mr. McGraw is a single father of 3. Last month, he went on a business trip for a couple of days, and his sons stayed home alone. Old enough, but maybe not wise enough, because when Mr. Jones returned home, he found out that someone crashed their car.
Okay, boys, speak now. Who took the car?
But none of the boys admitted it. Tim said,
These 2 days I spent at home studying.
Drew said,
I went to see some friends once, but I took the bus.
John said,
I don't even like driving.
inspect the car and try to figure out which son is guilty. Look, there's a hoodie left in the car. This is the hoodie John was wearing the day Mr. McGraw left, so he must have caused the accident. This case isn't at all criminal, but someone still needs your help. In a local high school, prom is approaching, and everyone is busy looking for a date. Our main character right here found a note in his locker. Obviously from some fearless girl asking him out, but he can't read the message and doesn't even know who asked him out. Can you help him figure out what's written on the card? It's obviously a cipher, and gladly not the hardest one. Every word is just spelled backwards, so if you put the letters in the normal order, the note will say, "You belong with me. Prom?" There's a name too. It's Juliet. Hopefully our guy will accept the invitation. One of the police stations received a call. A young girl, Allison, reported that her new purple bike, one she saved up for and bought herself, was stolen. Just 1 week after she bought it. The girl asked to help her, and one of the officers was up for the case. She did her research and narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Take a look at them and tell which person stole Allison's bike. It's this mean dude. His bike appears black, but he painted it over its real color. Look, here the paint has chipped a little bit, and you can see the original purple color of the bike. A local jewelry store was robbed. Unfortunately, the police couldn't trace the robber. 2 weeks later in the evening, a city detective, Este, received a call from a farm in the suburb saying that they found something. Este arrived at the farm. The farmer said, "I was working in the field and found this message in a bottle. It's a map. It's about that store robbery. Now I look back, I remember that I saw someone in my field 2 weeks ago. It was a full moon, and I saw a silhouette, but I assumed it was an animal." Este arrested the farmer for further investigation. Why? The story looked legit in the beginning, but then he mentioned the full moon. As you can see, it's a full moon now, so it couldn't be the case 2 weeks ago. That's the moment Este knew that the farmer was making something up. A young aspiring actress went missing on her camping trip. She went to the woods all by herself to prepare for her upcoming role. The first people who saw her, 1 week after she left, were police officers in a police department, where she arrived to report her kidnapping. "I went to prepare for a role and had all the necessary survival equipment. At first, it was all new romantics, but on the 3rd night, I woke up tied up in the dark. It was a man, but I didn't see him. It was dark the whole time. It took me 4 days before I managed to escape. As soon as I was out of the woods, I ran here, to the nearest police department. You need to find him." The police officer didn't believe her. Why not?
Uh-oh.
The actress says she's just out of the woods, but look at her. She's dressed in style. Her hair looks amazing. That's not what stranded kidnapped people look like, and the detective didn't believe her. A rich young lady was having a party in a VIP club on New Year's Day. Over 200 people were invited. In the middle of the party, the hostess's lover noticed that her diamond earrings went missing.
Oh no!
The police arrived to investigate this delicate case and narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Abigail said, "I'd never steal anything." Stephen said, "The earrings are gorgeous. Everyone noticed them, but stealing..." Cornelia said, "You need to calm down. I am rich." Who's your prime suspect? Look at Cornelia's purse. It's supposed to be an expensive Hermes purse, but the logo is wrong. So, it's a cheap fake. And there's still a tag on her dress, which isn't really rich. She's just playing along to fit in. Someone robbed a bank in a city, and Detective Este was leading the investigation. It was known that 2 people worked on it, but only one of them was caught, Clyde. Clyde refused to name his partner, so the police had to continue their investigation. After months, they had 3 main suspects, Bonnie, Ivy, and Dorothea. Can you figure out who the other criminal is? It's Bonnie. Look, both Bonnie and Clyde have the same snake tattoo on their wrist, so they must be in the same gang. Now let's take a break and train your eyes a little bit. Long story short, Betty is getting ready for a concert and needs your help finding some stuff in her closet. She's looking for a dress, a cardigan, and a red scarf. Here are the exact pictures to help you find the right item. Can you locate them all? Here's the scarf. That's the dress. And look, the cardigan is right here. Good job! Okay, the second and the last item hunt. This is Betty's bedroom. Can you locate a pair of cowboy boots, heart-shaped sunglasses, and red lipstick? Here they are. Did you find them all? Okay, the last one for today. It was a rainy midnight, and Scarlett was studying late in her college library since the hardest exam of the term was 2 days away. At some point, she left to go to the bathroom and grab a snack from a vending machine. When she returned, she noticed that some of her notes went missing.
Oh no!
Apart from the librarian, there were just 3 more people in the library at that hour, so she asked them about the notes. The first student said, "I don't steal, I worry about karma." The second student said, "I went for a walk outside to clear up my head." The third one said, "I was studying, I don't know anything." Who do you think knows something about Scarlett's notes? It's the second student. He said he took a walk outside, but it was raining. If he really did that, he'd be all wet. But he's not. Three expensive watches have been stolen from Mr. Brown's store this year. The police can't help the poor man. He decides to hire a private detective. When Laura arrives, she immediately asks for the CCTV footage from January to December. After watching it, she tells the store owner who the thief is. What has she noticed in the video? The same guy came to the store several times in April, August, and November. And every time he has a cast on his arm. But no broken bone would need 8 months to heal. Follow the Sun was a very popular travel agency. It sold package tours to the hottest and most exotic destinations. But one day, the police found out that this company helped criminals flee the country. They also learned the exact date when it would happen the next time. On that day, several police officers arrived at the airport. They stopped a group of tourists who were flying to a Caribbean island, but the detectives didn't know the criminal's identity. That's why they had to search the baggage of all the passengers. Look at their bags and say who the criminal is. It's the young woman on the left. If she's going on a package tour to a hot place, why does she need a winter jacket? No matter how fast you are, you'll never be faster than me. I follow you wherever you go. What am I? I'm your shadow. Carl and his wife Olivia had dinner. They ate the same dishes: French fries, some fish, and vegetable salad. Half an hour later, Carl felt unwell and called an ambulance. But when specialists arrived, he was already unconscious. The man was immediately taken to a hospital. Luckily, doctors had enough time to save him. When they figured out what was wrong with Carl, everyone was shocked. The man had been poisoned. But how could it happen? He and his wife ate the same dishes, but Olivia was perfectly fine. Even more surprising, the next day, the police arrested the woman for trying to poison her husband. How come? Olivia made all the dishes not salty enough and put poison in the salt shaker. Marta takes 6 ice cubes from the freezer and puts them on a plate. She removes 2 of them and adds another ice cube. She waits for 20 minutes and puts them all back in the freezer. How many ice cubes are left? Just 1, but it won't be exactly a cube. All the ice cubes will have melted and, placed in the freezer again, will form one large chunk of ice. Joe texted his friend Randy. He needed some advice. Joe wrote, "My girlfriend took my professional camera without asking permission, and then she accidentally smashed it. What should I do?" The answer was bizarre. At first, Joe didn't think he wanted to follow this advice, but a bit later he decided it was the best course of action. What was the advice? Forgive and forget. Someone broke into Samantha's house through the window and stole some valuable things. When the police came, she told them she suspected her younger brother Sam. The police officers went to question the guy, but he denied everything. "I was playing basketball several days ago and broke my leg. As you can see, it's in a cast now. It's hard for me to even leave my house." The police officers left, but the next day, one of them saw Sam near his house. The guy was still wearing the cast, but the officer immediately arrested him. Why? When the police visited Sam, the guy had a cast on his right leg. Now it was on his left leg. A farmer only has goats, sheep, and horses on his farm. At the moment, they're all horses but 5, all goats but 4, and all sheep but 3. How many of each animal does the farmer have? There are 3 sheep, 2 goats, and 1 horse on the farm. Altogether, there are 6 animals. Police officer Cheryl Adams was walking along the river, taking some pictures she needed for a case, when a man crashed into her. They both fell to the ground. After helping Cheryl to her feet, the man started to apologize. Someone had stolen his wallet and he was trying to catch the thief.
I was painting my boat and my wallet was lying next to me. But then I got distracted. And when I turned back, the wallet wasn't there anymore.
Cheryl understood that the thief couldn't have gone far. They ran to the nearby pier. There were 4 people there. After looking at them attentively, the police officer knew who the thief was.
Yes!
Now, it's your turn to figure it out. It's the man who's talking on the phone. There's some green paint on his left pant leg. Damien was at work when he found out he'd won the lottery jackpot. He told his accountant he wanted to give half of this money to his best friend, Logan. But random people started to show up in the office, calling themselves Logan to deceive the accountant and get the money. Can you figure out who the real best friend is? It's the guy wearing a matching bracelet with Damien. Look at these prisoners. Can you figure out who's planning to escape? It's the most innocent-looking guy, reading a book. In the corner of his cell, we can see a pile of dirt. He has already dug a hole, planning to use it to escape. Sandra's boyfriend went on a business trip to New York. Soon, the girl got a weird text message from him. It looked like this. What did Sandra's boyfriend want to say? The message means, "Unhappy without you." A woman went out of the airport terminal. She hailed a taxi and gave directions to the driver. As soon as they drove off, the woman started to talk. Her chatter annoyed the driver. He turned to her and said,
I can't hear what you're saying. I'm almost deaf.
The woman didn't open her mouth for the rest of the ride. Only after she got out of the taxi did she realize the man had lied to her. How did the woman understand it? If the driver had hearing problems, he wouldn't have been able to follow her directions. Dylan was an extremely popular guy in his office. Tall, handsome, funny, and friendly. But there was one thing that made certain people dislike him. The man had a new girlfriend every month. That Friday, Dylan came to work very happy. He had finally bought the car of his dreams. At lunchtime, he went to the parking lot to check on his new toy. Oh no, his car was a mess, scratched and covered in paint. Dylan called security. He had 3 suspects, all of them his exes. Andrea said she didn't even know that Dylan had gotten a new car. Catherine answered she'd been preparing a report for their boss and hadn't left her desk. And Mila told the guy that she'd forgiven him long ago. Who ruined Dylan's car? It was Catherine. She has some paint stains on her skirt, and the color is the same as the paint on the man's car. Emily was standing on one side of the river, and Anna was on the other. Anna shouted, asking Emily to come and meet her, and Emily did that. There was no bridge across the river, but the girl crossed it anyway, without even getting wet. How did she do it? The river was frozen. One guy was going to Disneyland. At one point, he arrived at a crossroads. There was a sign there. Blueville, right. Disneyland, left. The guy stood there for a while and then, terribly upset, he went home. Why? He thought Disneyland had really left. An orange house is made out of orange bricks. A yellow house is made out of yellow stones. A blue house is made out of blue logs. What is a green house made of? It's made out of glass, of course. Hey Brightsiders, I've prepared a new portion of mind-boggling riddles. And what does it mean? It's time to put on your detective hat. Let's go.
Yeah.
Jake loved making bets with his friends. This time, he bet that he could put a bottle of water in the middle of his living room and crawl into it. His friends were sure they would win. But somehow, Jake won the bet again. Can you understand how he did it? Well, Jake said he would put a bottle of water in the middle of the room and crawl into it. But he didn't specify if he would crawl into the bottle or into the room. So he simply crawled into the room and won the bet. Now try to crack this riddle. It's nothing but holes tied to other holes. At the same time, this thing is as strong as steel, but not as stiff as a pole. What is it? It's a chain. Dylan was trapped in a basement. The only thing he found inside was a note and a pen. Find the way to get 200 out of 188 with one line, and you'll be free. 5 minutes later, the door opened automatically, and Dylan was free. What did he do? He drew a horizontal line to divide 188. This way, He got 2 ones and 4 zeros. Look at these 4 people in a grocery store. Can you figure out who is going to steal a watermelon? It's the man with the soccer ball. It seems as if he's holding something heavy. It must be the watermelon disguised as a soccer ball. Robert was a collector of unusual coins. One day, the man called the police and reported one of his rarest coins missing. He was sure the culprit was one of his brothers, Frederick or Matthew, who lived together with him. One of them collected ancient books, and the other was crazy about rare stamps. All the collections were kept in the same large room in the house. The key to the room was kept in a vase standing on the fireplace. The only other person besides the brothers who visited the house was Robert's friend Mark. When the police arrived, they found out the room had been opened with the key. The officers also didn't find any fingerprints. Do you know who stole the coin?
Uh-oh.
It was Mark. He was the only person who had a reason for getting rid of the fingerprints. The brothers' fingerprints would be absolutely natural since they live there. Now you have to think outside the box to crack this one.
Yeah.
1 is to 3 as 3 is to 5, and 5 is to 4. And 4 is the magic number. Can you figure out the pattern? The word 1 has 3 letters, the word 3 has 5, and the word 5 consists of 4 letters, but the word 4 has only 4 letters in it. And whatever number you try, eventually you'll come back to 4, and the game will end there. Look at this picture. Can you figure out which mermaid is his wife? Have you spotted a tattoo on the man's neck? It's the letter L. See? And now the mermaid on the right also has a tattoo. It's the letter J. They most likely depicted the first letters of each other's names, so they must be husband and wife. The next picture for you. Which girls are sisters? These 2 mermaids are sisters. Have you noticed that they have identical moles on their faces? Wow, a race on seahorses? That's something new. But can you figure out which mer person is cheating? One of the guys has a robotic seahorse. See that USB port on its neck? And now look at these young people playing beach volleyball. Can you figure out who's not human? It's this girl. If you compare her with her friends, she's the only one who's not sweating and isn't red-faced because of the heat and exertion. Kimberly inherited an old house from her rich aunt. When the young woman was exploring the cellar, she came across a massive wooden door. She opened it and saw a small room with 3 bags and a note. One of the bags has $1 million and the others are empty. You can only open one bag, so think carefully. Kimberly also noticed that there was a message on each bag. The first bag claimed, "The cash is not here." The message on the second bag was, "The cash is not here." And the third bag said, "The cash is in the second bag." If only one message is true, which bag has the money? The money can't be in the second or third bags. If it was so, then 2 messages would be true. It means the money is in the first bag. This next riddle will challenge your math skills. Add this number to the same one and multiply the result by 4. Then divide it by 8. And you'll have the very first number again. What number is it? It can be any number. You can try it out to make sure. Jason took part in a game show and ended up as one of the 2 contestants to make it to the finals. He came up to the table with 3 cups on it, but only one of these drinks was safe to try. The other 2 were poisoned. And even though a mistake wouldn't cost Jason his life, the consequences would be unpleasant. The drinks were tea with sugar, cappuccino, and hot chocolate. Which one should Jason choose? If it was indeed sugar in the tea, it would have melted completely, but it didn't happen. The cappuccino looks suspiciously green. It's probably unsafe to drink. Jason opted for the hot chocolate and won the challenge. A man was in an 8-story building when a fire started. He jumped out of the window but didn't even bruise himself. How is it possible? The man jumped out of the first-floor window. I was driving along the highway when one of my car tires burst. I stopped to change it, but when I came back to the car, I saw it had a flat battery. I looked around and realized I was in the middle of a small town. I decided to wait for someone who could help me. Suddenly, I heard glass shatter. The night was very dark, so I switched on the headlights and saw a man with a large bag climbing out of a house. I immediately ran to the nearest police station to report the crime. That's what Mr. Darrison told the police. The detective who was listening to him asked, "And where did you hide everything you'd stolen from that house?" How did he come to this conclusion? If Mr. Darrison's car battery was flat, how could he switch on the headlights? Can you figure out which passengers on this bus are zombies? There are 2 zombies on the bus. This man with a bandage on his neck and 1 ear missing. And this business lady sitting near the window. She's making bizarre growling noises. How about some rebus puzzles? Here we go.
Yeah.
What does it mean? That's how you greet people. Good afternoon. Okay, now try this one. It's progress underway. And how about this one? Ah, this one was easy. It's accelerate. It was winter when an elderly couple finished building a pretty new house. The husband was responsible for the construction, while his wife was a self-appointed decorator. The house looked beautiful. Very proud, they invited their grandchildren to have a look at their work. But within an hour, the kids managed to break several windows. They also knocked down the fence, removed the decorations, and ruined the roof. But the most bizarre thing, the grandparents didn't seem to mind. Can you figure out what happened there? The grandparents made a gingerbread house and invited their grandchildren to eat it. Detective Smith was called to a house to investigate a burglary. Mr. Brooke claimed that someone had broken into his place and stolen his expensive watch. When the detective arrived, he saw that the front door was open and there was muddy footprints leading to the living room. He also noticed that there was some mud on the staircase. After looking around the house, Detective Smith quickly figured out who the thief was. He went upstairs and arrested Mr. Brooke's son. Why did he do that? The detective noticed that no footprints were leading out of the house, indicating that the thief was still inside. 4 friends went out for lunch. Take a look at the image and try to guess which person is the richest. It's the one on the right. The first person has a fake iPhone, so they can't be it. Then the one next to them has ripped shoes, which means she can't afford new ones. The third friend has an empty wallet. She's probably going to ask some friend to pay her part of the bill. And the fourth one has multiple black credit cards, which means they're the richest. Freddy went to the castle near his house to return a lost cat. He was greeted by an old man that invited him in. But once he stepped inside, the old man turned into an evil magician that trapped Freddy inside the castle. Then the evil magician said,
If you manage to complete 3 tasks I give you, I'll let you go home. Otherwise, you'll be stuck here forever. Here's the first task. Help me find my glasses amongst all these vegetables.
"Can you help Freddy?" Here they are, right next to the pumpkin. For the next task, Freddy had to make a potion, and the ingredients should be added in the right order. The magician gave Freddy a piece of paper with the recipe written on it. Can you help Freddy make the potion? You got to follow the colors of the cauldrons. So first of all, you need to add curry, so the potion will turn yellow. Then you add some blueberries, and it will turn green. And finally, add some tomatoes to make the potion look brown. Well done, Freddy! Freddy's third task is to find a book in this messy room. Can you do it? It's sitting right here behind the floor lamp. Congrats, you just helped to free Freddy. Tuesday, Sam and Peter went to a restaurant for dinner. After eating, the bill was paid. But Sam and Peter did not pay the bill. Who paid the bill for them? Their friend, Tuesday. I didn't see that one coming. Atlas woke up in the attic of an abandoned house. He tried to find a way out of the house, but all he could do was find a room with 3 doors. Each door hid a different danger. The windows and floor behind the first door were made entirely of magnifying glass, which meant that the sunlight would probably burn him if he entered. The second door hid a room full of poisonous gases. And behind the third door, there was a hungry lion. What should Atlas do to escape? He should wait until it's nighttime and use the first door. Sydney told her mom that her gymnastics team would go to a sports camp for the weekend. She asked her mom to help her pack for the trip. Her mother packed everything she thought her daughter would need. When Sydney came back from the weekend, she was telling her mother all about the trip. But somewhere during the conversation, she asked her mother why she hadn't packed a toothbrush. The mother immediately knew Sydney was lying about where they had really been that weekend. How? Because Sydney's mother did pack a toothbrush, but she put it under Sydney's gymnastics clothes. If Sydney had really gone to that camp, she would have used the clothes and found the toothbrush. Kimberly discovered 3 bags in an old attic along with a note. The note said that there was $1 million inside one of the bags. It also said that the 2 other bags were empty. She only had one chance to figure out which bag had the cash. Kim knew that only one of the messages written on the bags was true. On the first bag, it said, "The cash is not here." On the second bag, it was written, "The cash is not here." The last bag read, "The cash is in the second bag." If you were Kimberly, which bag would you choose? You should choose the first bag. If only one of the clues is true, then the money is in the first bag. Becca had just arrived from a 2-week trip to Egypt. During her trip, she bought a beautiful emerald and wanted to show it to some of her friends. She decided to throw a party just for her closest friends. The next day, she noticed that the emerald was gone. Becca immediately decided to call a detective to help her find the thief. She showed him some of the pictures she had taken the night before. The detective took a quick look and already had a pretty good idea of who had done it. Take a look at these pictures. How did the detective find the culprit? Look at that girl wearing a hat. At 1 a.m., her hat is flat, but at 2 a.m., her hat suddenly turned pointy, weirdly imitating the shape of an emerald. It must have been her. It's a rainy evening, and Dylan is driving back home. He passes through a bus stop where 3 people ask him for a ride. Dylan only has 1 seat in his car to offer, but he really wants to help all of those people. There's an old lady that looks very cold. There's a doctor who claims he needs to get to the hospital for a quick appointment. And a woman that Dylan has a crush on. What's the best arrangement Dylan can make to help everyone? Dylan could lend his car to the doctor so that he could drive the old lady home. Dylan could wait at the bus stop with the girl he has a crush on until the doctor comes back and gives him his car back. Susan found out that her favorite pop band was playing a private concert for VIP clients in a luxurious club. She decided to sneak inside the club through the backyard. But unfortunately, Susan faced a strict guard behind the door. He refused to let her inside without a password. But luckily for her, there was a hint in the guard's t-shirt. The hint was 2, infinity, plus BD. Susan deciphered the hint and was allowed in the concert. Can you guess what the password was? It was to infinity and beyond. One afternoon, Nicole found her father, Frank, in the living room, really worried about an anonymous text he had gotten. Frank was a private investigator, and he had just received a message revealing the address of the town's most dangerous criminal, Dirty Jack. He decided to go check the area, even if he didn't know what the criminal looked like. The address turned out to be an old warehouse, and when he busted inside, he found 4 people sitting at a table playing poker. The 4 people were a carpenter, a truck driver, a mechanic, and a fireman. Without any hesitation or communication, Frank arrested the fireman. How did he know that he was a criminal? fireman was the only male in the room. The rest of the poker players were women. Bobby and Rachel decided to go grab a cup of coffee. But when their orders arrived, Bobby's coffee came with a fly inside of it. He called the waiter and asked him to change his cup. The waiter brought another cup of coffee, but 2 seconds later, Bobby called the waiter again and said, "Hey, that's the same cup." How did he know? Because Bobby had already put sugar in his coffee, and when he tasted the liquid inside the new cup, it already had sugar inside.
Hey, are you ready for another round of riddles? Then prepare your brains, and we start right away.
Yeah.
Take a look at the photos of these two people that were shot during Halloween. One of them is a real ghost. But who? The person on the left left some footprints on the ground, so it's not the real ghost. The ghost is the person on the right. Okay, so now we found a real ghost, but there are other creatures ahead too. Here's a shot of two best friends, but one of the girls is secretly a witch. Can you tell which one of them? It's this girl. Can you see a magic wand hidden in her high boots? Take a look at the photos these two famous bloggers have recently posted. Which one of them is a vampire? It's the blogger on the right. Look, the lamp is turned on, but she doesn't cast a shadow. Okay, how about solving a couple of detective cases now? Georgia Wright, a rich young lady, was poisoned, and her best friend called the police for an investigation. Detective Column started by walking around the house, exploring the territory. There was a big garden, 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a living room, a kitchen, a dining room, a library, and a movie room in the house. Georgia was found in her bedroom. The suspects were all people in the house. Madeline, her best friend, said, "I found her right here in the bedroom." James, Georgia's cousin, who just came to visit, said, "I spent all day in the game room playing video games. I don't know anything about it." Mrs. Smith, the cook, said, "My food is of the best quality, and I love my job. I'd never do anything bad to Miss Wright." Who should the detective arrest? The detective should arrest James. There is no game room in the house, so the guy lied. Another woman got poisoned, but this time at a party. Violet fell unconscious after making a couple of sips of her soda. All of the other people drinking the same soda were fine, which meant that someone added something to her drink in particular. The police arrived at the party 10 minutes after the accident. Ava said, "This is terrible." She went to get a drink, and I stayed dancing upstairs. Nate said, "I didn't see anything. I haven't been in the room with food and drinks for over an hour when I got this one." Elias said, "I found her lying here on her own. Got so scared, and there was no one around." Who should be arrested? Nate. If he got his drink over an hour earlier, why didn't the ice in his drink melt? He must have been there at the same time as Violet, but he's lying about it. Detective Column was on the case to find a missing girl, Mia. She disappeared from her dormitory supposedly in the middle of the night. Adam, her best friend, said, "She wasn't in class and didn't respond to my texts. I came to check on her, and she wasn't here either." Gina, a neighbor, said, "I saw her here yesterday night. She seemed fine." Dana, Mia's sister, said, "I had no idea she was missing until you called me. Please keep me updated." The detective went to inspect the room and arrested one of those people. Boom! Look at this calendar on Mia's wall. There are numbers written on it: 4, 12, 8, and 3. It could be a message. We need to decode it, and the calendar is a hint. Each number signifies a month: 4 for April, 12 for December, 8 for August, and 3 for March. The first letters of each month give us the name of the kidnapper, Adam, her best friend. Sam is a blind man, and he's getting ready to go out on a date. He has a box with 4 socks in it, and they're either black or gray. Sam takes out 2 socks. If the probability of them being 2 gray socks is 1/2, what's the probability of them being 2 black socks? If there are 2 socks of each color, then the probability of having 2 gray socks is equal to the probability of picking out 2 black socks, and it's 1/4 each. The probability of picking out 1 gray and 1 black sock is 1/2, but here the probability to pick out 2 gray socks is 1/2, which means that there are 3 gray socks and 1 black. So the probability of getting 2 black socks is 0. On a gloomy day, as soon as it started raining, a police officer received a call. A woman complained that someone just bumped into her car and drove away. They arrived, and together with the woman, they found a person not too far away who fit the vague description of a red car. All she could remember: "I've just been trying to fix the car. I suddenly broke down an hour ago and I'm running late for a meeting." Should the officer believe him? The rain started just recently. If the man had been fixing the car for over an hour, the ground under the car would be dry, but it's wet, which means that he is lying. And this is suspicious. Okay, let's take a little break from thinking too hard and train our eyes a little bit. Ashley is going on a month-long vacation. She's visiting her friend in Denmark, but she has trouble finding some things she needs. Can you help her? I'll be showing you the picture of her rooms and the items she needs. You just have to find them in the picture. Okay, let's start with her bedroom. Can you see those items there? Here's her scarf. The gloves are right there, and this is the backpack. Great job! Now the living room. She needs her headphones, a passport, and her cell phone. Here they are. Did you find them all? Finally, the bathroom. She needs this exact lipstick, a hairbrush, and sunscreen. Do you see them in the picture? The brush, the sunscreen, and this is the lipstick right here. Thank you. One sunny day, an insurance agency received a call from their client, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith has his property and belongings insured. He reported that someone broke into his house and stole his savings and the collection of expensive watches. The company's caseworker was sent to investigate the situation. Look, the house was a mess. Still, the caseworker concluded that Mr. Smith staged it. Why? Look at the plates, cups, and bottles on the floor. All of it is pretty fragile, but none is broken. The burglar wouldn't care about keeping things safe, but Mr. Smith would, so he carefully put it all down on the ground when staging the robbery. Do you want more crazy stories from the insurance agency? This couple, Dean and Jean, have their lives insured. They came to the agency saying that a big icicle fell on Jean's head and it gave her a concussion. A caseworker came to the house to listen to the whole story. Jean was sitting right there, painting the wall of the house. The icicle fell from the roof right on top of her. Why didn't the caseworker believe them? Icicles are hanging from the roof. That's true, but Dean said that Jean was painting the wall of the house at the time of the accident. If that's true, then the icicle wouldn't be able to hit her, since Jean wouldn't have the roof completely over her. Another day, another case. The day after a storm, a man called his insurance company and told them that his car was hit by a tree that fell on it because of the wind. So, he wanted the money to repair the car or fully replace it. A caseworker came to investigate the case and concluded that, once again, it was a fraud. Why did she make this decision? The tree that was supposedly broken by the wind is perfectly cut.
Hey, Brightsiders, how about giving your sharp mind a shake? Then put on your detective hat and listen attentively. One day, Johnson woke up and immediately felt that something was wrong. While sleeping, he somehow turned into a metal robot. Johnson looked around. The place where he woke up seemed to be a dungeon, dark, damp, and very cold. There were 3 corridors leading out of that place. The first passage had a treacherous floor. Some of its panels could collapse, sending people into an abyss. Massive boulders fell from the ceiling of the second corridor every 30 seconds. And the third passage was filled with giant cacti, whose thorns were covered in poison. Which corridor is the safest? Johnson picked the third corridor. Thorns would do no harm to his now metal body, even the ones covered in poison. Mila was locked in a jail cell. It was rather small, with a dirt floor and a small window high above the ground. The only thing she saw was a tiny shovel in the corner. In a couple of hours, Mila managed to break free from the cell. How did she do it? She dug a hole in the floor. Then she made a pile using the soil, climbed on top of it, and escaped through the window. A student failed an important exam, but the professor decided to give him another chance. She said, "If you crack my riddle, I'll let you take the exam again. 2 plus 2 is the same as 2 times 2. Find a set of 3 whole numbers whose sum will be the same as their total when multiplied." The student didn't need much time to figure out the answer. These numbers are 1, 2, and 3. One guy decided to become a scuba diver, but during his first dive, he got dazed and disoriented. He couldn't figure out which way he should swim to get to the surface. Soon, he also noticed he was running out of air. He started panicking. Can you help the poor guy find his way to the surface? He should swim in the directions where bubbles go. Yay! You've saved him. Great job! A unique diamond was on exhibition in a famous museum. It was guarded at all times, and only a small group of 10 people were allowed to enter the room. After one of such groups had left, an alarm went off. The guards ran into the room and found a young man there. When they searched him, they found nothing extraordinary. Just several bills, a lighter, a bottle of soda, a camera, and a smartphone. The guards had to let the man go, but the next morning, it was announced that the diamond had been stolen. How did it happen? The man replaced the real diamond with a fake one and hid the real treasure in his bottle of soda. Emma came to the office on Monday and found out that someone had deleted an important report from her computer. She knew that in the company there were 3 people who would be happy if she lost her job. She decided to question the suspects. Laura, Emma's colleague, said, "I've just arrived. The weather is awful, such a downpour." Thomas, the accountant, answered,
I was out buying coffee and have just returned.
and Eliza, a new employee, said, "I had a meeting with a client in a cafe. I've just come back to the office." Who has anything to do with Emma's report? Eliza. Pay attention to the suspect's feet. Thomas and Laura's shoes are wet. They got caught in the rain. But Eliza's high heels are perfectly dry. She must have lied about going out to meet with a client. You wake up and find yourself trapped in a room. There's only a mattress to sleep on, some food, a small knife, a water dispenser, and a large water bottle. It's enough for you to survive for 2 days. There are 3 doors in the room. The corridor behind the first one is filled with toxic gas. Behind the second door, the hall is swarming with venomous snakes. And if you opt for the third door, you'll find yourself in a giant aquarium with hungry sharks. Which door should you choose? Empty the water dispenser and cut its top part with the help of the knife. Then put it over your head so that no air can get inside. Then leave fast enough through the first door. Imagine finding yourself in a room with 4 doors and a deep pit in the middle. Behind the first door, there's a ferocious tiger. The space behind the second door is filled with bubbling lava. The third door prevents poisonous gas from leaking into the room. And the fourth door leads to a tiny storage room with no windows. You have to decide fast how to get out of this trap. You should open the first door. When the tiger jumps at you, you should step aside. The animal will fall into the pit, and you will be able to escape through the first room. Look at poor Amanda. She dozed off during a lecture, and when she woke up, she discovered someone had ruined her hair. Can you figure out who did it? The culprit is the guy on the right. Look, there are scissors sticking out of his pocket. Mickey woke up in a small room without windows. She didn't know how she got there. The girl noticed a door with a combination lock on it. And on the floor next to her, there was a note. Spelled forward were those rodents that terrify you. But what you need is spelled backward. You can't touch it, but you see it at night. What is the password? The rodents the note speaks about are rats. Then the word Mickey needs is star. Now, this riddle might seem kinda cruel, but try not to take it seriously and think outside the box. So, what happens to a person whose whole left side gets cut off? They're all right now. Heh, told you it wasn't too bad. Jack reached the final of a popular game show. Now, if he wanted to get his prize, he had to pass the last challenge. He entered a large hall with 3 cardboard boxes in the center. One of them had white balls inside. The second contained black balls, and the third was filled with black and white balls. The boxes were sealed and labeled, but all the labels were wrong. Jack was allowed to open one box, pick a ball, check its color, and put the ball back into the box. How many times would the man have to repeat this action to label all the boxes correctly? Jack managed to do it after picking just one ball. He chose the box labeled BW, which stood for black and white. Since all labels were wrong, it could be either BB or WW. He pulled out a black ball, so the box was actually BB. Then, logically, Jack figured out the rest of the boxes. Now, let's check how attentive you are. 3 guys were playing hide and seek. One of them hid in the kitchen. Can you help his friends find him? Yep, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to squeeze into the oven. Now, I've got a tricky but fun task for you. I'll be showing you different emoji combinations, and you'll need to figure out what Disney movies they stand for. Let's start with these emojis. What movie is hidden here? Right, it's 101 Dalmatians. The next one for you. That's The Little Mermaid. How about this very popular one? I believe these days there's no person who doesn't know about Frozen. And the last one for you. I admit this one might have been a bit tough. Have you recognized WALL-E?